Jeremy Clarkson wasn't always a millionaire car collector. His journey began as a modest motoring journalist in the 80s, writing for the Rotherham Advertiser. But things shifted when he joined Top Gear in 1988, eventually making it one of the most watched car shows globally. His fiery personality and love for speed earned him a £160 million contract for the Grand Tour, cementing his fortune. But beyond the TV shows and big contracts, Clarkson's true passion has always been fast, loud, and iconic cars. From roaring Lamborghinis to classic BMWs, his collection showcases his love for power, speed, and luxury. But how much has he really spent on these machines? Let's kick things off with a true classic in Jeremy Clarkson's collection, the 1973 Mercedes-Benz 600 Grosser. This isn't just a car, it's a legendary status symbol from the 70s. Back in the day, this was the go-to ride for celebs, heads of state, and the ultra-rich. So of course, Clarkson had to have one. The 600 Grosser isn't known for speed, but it's all about luxury. You wouldn't want to be the one driving this behemoth. No, you'd rather sit back and enjoy the ride. This four-door saloon uses hydraulic systems for almost everything: doors, windows, and even the seats. That's right, while modern cars use electric motors, this beauty sticks to the old-school mechanics, which is exactly why Clarkson loves it. It's vintage, a little bit stubborn, and very powerful, just like him. Under the hood, the Grosser packs a 6.3-litre V8 engine with 241 horsepower and 368 pounds of torque. Its top speed is around 127 miles per hour. Not exactly a speed demon, but it was impressive back in its prime. Depending on its condition, you could get a used one today for anywhere between $152,000 to $250,000. It's definitely a piece of history, but Clarkson isn't shy about splurging on iconic rides. Let's drop the luxury and crank up the speed. If the Grosser was all about cruising, the Mercedes SLS AMG Roadster is all about adrenaline. Clarkson added this beast to his collection in 2011. The SLS AMG Roadster, it has a 6.2-litre V8 engine, packing a punch with 621 horsepower and 737 pounds per foot of torque. It can shoot from 0 to 60 in just 3.7 to 4.1 seconds, depending on the driver's guts. Clarkson's love for this car goes beyond its power. It's also about the sound. The exhaust note is aggressive and thrilling, almost like a wild animal's roar. Clarkson took this beauty for a drive in London, once stopping in Notting Hill for a tea break, but he didn't dare leave it unattended for too long. It's not just fast, it's flashy, with a sleek design that makes heads turn. A used SLS AMG Roadster? Well, it costs around $226,551, making it one of the priciest roadsters on the market. It's everything Clarkson wants in a car: fast, loud, and unmistakably cool. Now, let's shift from this loud roadster to an even wilder machine, one that Clarkson brought to celebrate a major milestone in his career. This next car is one of Clarkson's most prized possessions, the McLaren 675 LT. When Clarkson signed his big contract with Amazon for the Grand Tour, he celebrated by buying this sleek, bright orange supercar. The McLaren 675 LT, it's one of the rarest cars in his collection, with only 500 units ever made. The LT in the 675 LT stands for Longtail, a nod to its racing heritage. It's lighter and faster than its predecessor, the 650S. With a 3.8-litre twin-turbo V8 engine, it produces 666 horsepower and 516 pounds per foot of torque. It can reach 62 miles per hour in a blistering 2.9 seconds. That's quicker than you can say McLaren. This $350,000 supercar isn't just about speed, it's also about precision. Clarkson loves the way it handles on the road and the track. It's as if the car reads your mind, responding instantly to every touch of the pedal. But let's keep moving. Clarkson's love for the Ford GT started as a childhood dream. So, when he finally bought the 2005 model, it seemed like a dream come true. With a 5.4-litre supercharged V8 engine, the Ford GT churns out 550 horsepower and 500 pounds per foot of torque. It can rocket from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3.7 seconds, but as much as Clarkson wanted to love this American supercar, things didn't go quite as planned. First, the security alarm was a nightmare. It would go off at random, even in the middle of the night. Then there was the car's width. It couldn't fit on Hammersmith Bridge, making it impossible to use around London. And don't get Clarkson started on the immobilizer or the tracking system, which caused more than just a few headaches. In the end, he sold it, admitting that it just wasn't practical for everyday driving. A used 2005 Ford GT, well, it goes for about $385,084, proving that even problems can be pricey. Let's move to one of Clarkson's all-time favorites. The Lexus LFA was initially mocked by Clarkson when it appeared on Top Gear, but that changed the moment he got behind the wheel. The LFA has a 4.8-liter V10 engine that produces 553 horsepower and 354 pounds-per-foot of torque. It's a masterpiece of Japanese engineering that can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3.7 seconds. What sets the LFA apart, though, is the sound. The exhaust note, tuned by Yamaha, is often described as one of the best in the world. Clarkson fell in love with it so much that he bought one for himself. He called it the best car he'd ever driven, a huge compliment from someone who's driven almost everything. Although he later sold it, the LFA remains a highlight of his collection. Today, a used LFA can go for about as much as $845,559. Next, we have one of Clarkson's favorites, the 2004 BMW M3 CSL. It's not just any M3, it's the Coupe Sport Lightweight, which means it's all about shedding weight and boosting performance. Clarkson himself called the CSL magnificent and even compared it to the rebellious spirit of the Isle of Man, where he first tested this car on Top Gear. The Isle of Man has no speed limits, so Clarkson got to experience the full thrill of the M3 CSL without any restrictions. Imagine him grinning from ear to ear as he unleashed all 355 horsepower. The M3 CSL is powered by a 3.2-litre inline-six engine, producing 273 pounds-per-foot of torque. It can accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just about 4.1 to 4.6 seconds. Not bad for a car that's more about balance and handling than outright speed. With a used price averaging around $106,888, the M3 CSL, it isn't exactly cheap, but for Clarkson, it's worth every penny. He loves its aggressive growl, its lightweight body, and its raw driving experience. The CSL has no fancy gadgets, just a stripped-down interior, racing seats, and plenty of carbon fiber to keep it light. Next up is the 2007 Mercedes-Benz CLK63 AMG Black Series, a car that left Clarkson with a twinge of regret when he eventually sold it. He even tweeted about it, calling it a sad day when the AMG left his garage. It's a bit of a unicorn because Mercedes only produced a limited number of these cars. Under the hood, it's got a 6.2-litre V8 engine that roars with 500 horsepower and 465 pounds-per-foot of torque. That's enough to rocket it from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just about 3.8 to 4.1 seconds. Clarkson enjoyed pushing this car to its limits, and it's easy to see why. It has flared fenders, wide tires, and a stiff suspension, everything needed for some serious speed. A used CLK63 AMG Black Series can go for about $111,446 today. Despite its issues, Clarkson clearly had a soft spot for this aggressive Mercedes. He may have let it go, but the memory of its rumbling engine and sharp handling, it still lingers. From the world of powerful German engineering, let's switch to a raging bull from Italy. Jeremy Clarkson is all about cars that make noise, burn fuel, and go fast, so it's no surprise that he had a 2008 Lamborghini Gallardo Spider in his collection. The Gallardo is not just a car, it's a statement. With its sharp design and roaring engine, it's hard to miss. Clarkson drove it on Top Gear and fell in love with it right away. Shortly after, he added one to his personal garage. The Gallardo Spider is equipped with a 5-litre V10 engine, generating 512 horsepower and 376 pounds-per-foot of torque. It can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3.5 to 4 seconds, making it one of the fastest convertibles of its time. Clarkson, he enjoyed this Lamborghini for what it was, pure unfiltered fun. He loved blasting down the road, making the most of its aggressive exhaust note and high-speed thrills. It's an eye-catching, head-turning machine, but now it's time to pivot back to Britain and explore an Aston Martin. When it comes to British cars, Clarkson has always had a soft spot for Aston Martins. The 2011 Aston Martin Virage was one of the models he owned, and it was a perfect fit for him, literally. The Virage was designed to be bigger and roomier than other Aston Martins, which was a good thing for Clarkson's tall frame. It's built for comfort as much as it's built for speed, making it ideal for longer drives. The Virage sits between the DB9 and the DBS, making it a bit of a middle child in the Aston Martin family. It's powered by a 5.3-litre V12 engine that pumps out 490 horsepower and 420 pounds-per-foot of torque. It can accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 4.3 to 4.4 seconds. Clarkson loved the V12's deep, throaty sound and smooth power delivery. It's a Grand Tourer at heart, designed for high-speed cruising rather than sharp cornering. With an average used price of $75,573, the Virage is one of the more affordable Aston Martins you can find. Now, let's see what happens when we throw in a rear-engine legend. The Porsche 911, an icon in the world of sports cars. You'd think Clarkson would be a big fan, right? Well, not exactly. While Richard Hammond and James May have both praised the 911, Clarkson, he's never been its biggest fan. He even joked that he was too well endowed to drive one comfortably. But even with all the banter, Clarkson couldn't resist buying a 2012 Porsche 911 Carrera S at one point. The 911 Carrera S has a 3.8-litre twin-turbo flat-six engine that produces 500 horsepower and 480 pounds-per-foot of torque. It can go from 0 to 60 in just about 3.5 to 4.5 seconds. Clarkson drove it for a charity event called Help for Heroes in 2013, putting it to good use while raising money for a good cause. Even though he often made fun of the 911's design and its handling, Clarkson just couldn't deny its performance. It's fast, it's reliable, and it's well loved by many. Just not quite Clarkson's all-time favorite. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and leave a comment below to let us know who you'd like us to cover next.